Streaming live across the country, tackling the topics everyone is talking about online. Share, engage, and interact. This is Newsfeed Now.
Hey everyone, glad you can click into Newsfeed Now on this Thursday. I'm Suzanne Bruner. I think it's safe to say 2020 has been a pretty interesting year. The pandemic has changed much of our lives, no doubt about that, but we've learned to accept some new normals to everyday life, like wearing a face mask, social distancing, staying home as much as possible, and if you're like me, hopping on a Zoom call for the first time. Yeah, I had to learn that. Which brings me to this story from Grand Rapids, Michigan. So a judge there is having to use technology she has never had to use before. What should have been a quick court hearing turned into more of a technology coaching lesson. Ken Kolker shows us the creative way she's making sure her Zoom court hearings go on.
The suspect in question is standing in what appears to be his dining room, 800 miles away, staring at a computer or maybe into his cell phone. At least, he's wearing pants. Through her Zoom connection, Judge Sarah Smolensky stares back.
Is it Mr. Foote? Can you hear me, sir?
More staring.
I don't know if you can hear us, but you have to unmute yourself. There's a microphone-like device with a red line through it. You have to click on it.
That's not working.
We cannot hear you.
Clearly the judge has done this before. The handwritten cue card is pre-produced. That did not work. Then another handwritten cue card. She holds it just high enough for the camera in the courtroom. Then, for the sake of all that is just,
give us your phone number.
Charades. Before we get back to Mr. Foote's story, here's Judge Smolensky accepting our Zoom invitation to talk about pandemic justice. Hello, Judge? Oh, can you hear me? No, she can't.
That should do it.
There we go. In today's hearing, she could easily have taken charades a step too far.
Are you Mr. Foote? It is a little bit like charades, and I'm not bad at that game, to be honest with you. I'm not bad at that game.
In a pandemic, almost everything done in court is done through Zoom.
We've had guys that are sitting there in a chair smoking a cigarette, pleading guilty.
The other day, the judge says she asked a guy to stop driving during a court hearing. He pulled over at a store.
But now he's getting out. He's going in buying a Diet Coke. So
okay, now back to Mr. Foote. All the judge wants is his phone number to at least open a line of communication.
See if he writes down the number. How can he not give us your number?
More charades.
Give us your phone number. Phone. He's trying to do something. Nice dog.
Maybe a chocolate lab? Finally, after more charades and another note, a breakthrough.
Just write it down. Watch it. He's going to do it. There we go. Put it up a little bit.
6 minutes after this all started.
Hello?
Okay, Mr. Foote. Finally, we can talk.
All the way from out of state, Mr. Foote pleaded guilty.
Plead guilty.
All right.
From his kitchen.
Justice is being done. This is a unique time we're in, and everybody's trying to do the best they can.
They really are. And Judge Smolensky, oh my goodness, she has so much patience. We've got Ken joining us now. Ken, I don't even know if I need to lift this up for you, but I think my audio is working, right?
Well,
Okay.
I made this for our Zoom meeting, news meeting this morning, so.
Nice. Love it. Hey, we made sure. I've had some practice with our Zoom calls here, so I think we're good to go. But thanks so much for joining us. 6 minutes to fix all this. Wow. How long does it typically take for these hearings?
Well, normally, that 6 minutes would not happen at all. The guy would stand up in court and, the judge would know exactly who it was. He would, the identification part's not a problem. But this guy was 800 miles away.
Yeah.
In his dining room / kitchen. And what the judge was saying is that without Zoom, they would have had to get a bench warrant for him because there's no way he's coming back to Michigan to face this. Instead, he was able to do it from his, he pled guilty. But it was so much fun watching her. For one thing, we've known her for 30 years. She's been a judge, and she's hilarious.
Yeah. No, she definitely is.
Oh, yeah.
I bet she's really good at board games, too.
Yep.
You want her on your team.
She's good at charades, so yeah.
No, I love it. That was, it's really interesting to see. I mean, your story really just brings perspective as to what it has, like how it's changed court hearings today. I'm curious, what kind of hearings is she tackling through Zoom calls?
I mean, she's doing, they're doing preliminary hearings, they're doing arraignments, sentencings. I mean, she talked about one guy who was arraigned while driving his car, and the court staff during the Zoom meeting, while he's holding up his phone and driving with the other hand,
oh my goodness,
the charge.
That will get you back in court.
They said, well, luckily he wasn't out there for driving with a suspended license. But anyway, so he pulled over, and then he goes into a convenience store and buys a Diet Coke while he's still being arraigned.
That's right. She said that. That is so unreal. Any other crazy things she's come across during these Zoom hearings?
Oh, I mean, those are a couple of the craziest ones. So she talked to a guy sitting in their living room smoking a cigarette while they're, being sentenced. And it's like,
hey, you're in court in the comfort of your own home. But so basically, this is what she's dealing with. But I'm hoping this doesn't happen too often. It runs pretty smooth.
Oh, no, I think not. She had these were pre-produced cards. I mean, she's used those a number of times.
Okay, so she's prepared.
She was ready for this guy. So, and what was interesting is we were actually rolling on this hearing only because we were waiting for a hearing coming up on a criminal case that we were interested in. And in the newsroom, they were just rolling, waiting for the other thing to happen. And everyone was watching, and they're just howling with laughter. And it's like, we got to get this on TV.
Oh, well, you definitely did, and it went viral. I mean, it was really interesting stuff to see. So thanks so much for bringing us that story on Newsfeed Now, Ken.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Well, no time for charades or shouting out a warning for this one. A dad jumped into action after a 12-foot gator started moving toward his kids in their backyard. That wasn't caught on cam, but this was. Look at this 12-foot alligator. It was in a canal behind Andrew Grande's home in Texas. So his two kids were with their babysitter by the canal when he saw it. Instinct set in. He immediately ran out, grabbed his daughter, got the babysitter and his son inside their fence. An alligator hunter actually came out and pulled the gator out of the canal, as you can see right there. It's now at its new and more appropriate home at the Gator Sanctuary. So I think both sides are happy now. Well, new research on marijuana has found it may be bad for your heart. Now the American Heart Association is advising people to stop smoking or vaping cannabis. It says pot has components similar to tobacco smoke, and it could cause heart attacks, chest pain, and other heart-related illnesses. A clinical pharmacologist did find, though, people who use medical marijuana in doses may lessen some of those harmful effects. So just some new research there that you should be aware of. In the Midwest, here's what's buzzing right now. Breweries are coming together and raising their glasses for change. More than 1,000 breweries in all 50 states and at least 20 countries are making a specific beer to bring awareness to the inequality Black people face in the U.S. Zach Summers has more on this national movement.
It's really celebrating diversity.
Courtney Service is one of nearly a dozen brewery owners in the metro serving Black is Beautiful, a stout beer.
We did it pretty much the week after we heard about it.
Brewers are making the drink to bring awareness to the inequality Black people face in the U.S. on a daily basis.
White people are not dying in masses from police brutality right now. Black people are.
The recipe originated from a brewer in Texas. Breweries can make their own variations, but they're asked to use the Black is Beautiful logo. 100% of the proceeds support local groups fighting for equality, police reform, and legal defenses.
Breweries that can't make the actual Black is Beautiful recipe can still support the initiative by brewing or selling their own beer, like they're doing here at KC Beer Company.
We don't make a stout per se.
Instead, they're selling a farmhouse ale called Der Bauer,
a nice, spicy Belgian-style yeast.
Before owner Steve Hawley got into the brewing industry, he worked in commercial real estate, where he says he saw a lot of blatant racism towards minorities.
I think that the African American community has been saddled with a lot of disadvantages and injustices due to racism and prejudice over the years.
A beer may not change the world, but Service and Holly say Black is Beautiful is about inclusion and understanding and supporting people of color.
We need to treat people equally, be supportive of all groups, and not let our internal sort of prejudice that we grew up with or attitudes even dictate how we treat other people.
On Capitol Hill, 2 Georgia congressmen want to put up a statue of late Congressman and civil rights icon John Lewis. Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer has more on their efforts to have it represent Georgia in the U.S. Capitol's Statuary Hall.
Just a week after leaving Capitol Hill for the last time, John Lewis's Georgia colleagues are working on a way to preserve his memory in the halls of Congress.
We think that there's no better person that we could have to represent our state in the Capitol than our friend John Lewis.
Democrat Congressman Sanford Bishop and Republican Congressman Tom Graves are 2 of the 10 Georgia lawmakers proposing to replace the statue of Confederate leader Alexander Hamilton Stevens with one of Congressman John Lewis.
We just ask that they consider this tribute to Congressman Lewis.
But approval for the change must come from the Georgia State Capitol. In a tweet last week, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signaled his support for the move, saying, "By putting his statue in the U.S. Capitol, we can celebrate his legacy of service for years to come." President Trump hasn't weighed in on the matter, but has long been against removing Confederate statues. Graves says their push isn't an attempt to changing history.
Instead of cancel culture, it's okay to highlight the modern legacies of those that have positive impact.
Bishop and Graves are encouraged members of both parties are getting on board.
And that we can walk past a statue in the not too distant future of our friend, our colleague, our hero, John Lewis, in Statuary Hall.
Reporting in Washington, I'm Kelly Meyer.
Kelly joining us now. Kelly, a tribute many people are getting behind. What are the next steps to getting this approved?
Well, basically, this all comes down to the Georgia State Capitol, not the U.S. Capitol, to decide. So they have 2 statues per state in Statuary Hall or throughout the U.S. Capitol, and they're pushing to get one of those replaced, like you saw there in that story. So now it's up to those in the Georgia State Capitol and the governor, but like you saw, he's already signaled his support for this, so you might see some steps taken toward this in the coming year.
Okay, so that's the timetable for this. It could take a year?
Yes, I think so. They're looking at, it all goes back to the Georgia State House, so it depends when they're in session and when they get to this resolution.
You know, they say this push isn't by any means an attempt to change history, but rather recognize, they say, modern legacies that have made a positive impact. How much would it mean to folks in Georgia to have this statue represent the state in the halls of Congress?
It would mean so much, and I think you see that through the bipartisan push to get this in there. It's not just Democrats who are pushing for this, as Congressman John Lewis was a Democrat. It's Republicans as well from the state of Georgia, but really across the country, wherever he had an impact, you're seeing those pushing for it. And I think you're going to see more members of Congress signing on to this letter, encouraging the governor of Georgia and those in the state house to make sure this happens and make sure it happens fast.
Well, we will continue to follow that story, Kelly. I want to point out on another note, you are following a lot of stories out in Washington. A lot of folks are waiting on a decision on the second stimulus package. Lawmakers, they've been going back and forth on this, but what's the latest update on the bill? Any progress made?
You know, it really has been a back and forth and really a stalemate here on Capitol Hill. Negotiations are basically not going anywhere, and they're not going anywhere fast. You know, we're hoping to see something happen by Friday. That was their new deadline. But of course, it's Thursday, and we're not really seeing any progress. So it's looking like they're going to have to stay through their August recess, or at least some of their August recess, until they get this sorted.
Yeah, I know a lot of people waiting to hear if, you know, they'll maybe see a second check in the mail. So we'll definitely keep our eye on that as well. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us from Washington.
Thank you.
You know, unfortunately, the pandemic has forced many of you out of work, and it appears in recent weeks the jobs crisis seemed to have hit a roadblock. For the first time, last week's claims for unemployment benefits actually dropped more than expected. Here are some new numbers we're seeing across the board here. Just over 1 million people filed for jobless benefits last week. That was down from the prior week of nearly 1.5 million claims. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we know it's tough to find ways to stay connected with family members. CB Cotton has more on a family in Tennessee that celebrated a milestone they once feared would never happen.
Sometimes you have to do it big.
She's got to see us with all these balloons.
To capture the attention of someone far away.
That's on the 5th floor.
Missy Smith's mother is on the 5th floor here at St. Thomas Rutherford, battling COVID-19.
Not being able to have any contact with her or touch her or hug her. And so we brought I'm gonna start crying now.
They brought a birthday party complete with children and grandchildren.
And we get to see Nanny for the first time.
Hopefully big enough for her mom to see from the hospital window.
As long as Mom sees this, everything's good.
But at one point, things were bad. Back in early July, Missy's mom contracted the novel coronavirus and within days was rushed to the hospital. Her mom has a pre-existing condition and developed pneumonia in one lung. Doctors had to give her oxygen. Lots of it.
It's when she told me that she had it and they were on 90 liters, I thought we were going to be planning her funeral, not sitting here celebrating her 67th birthday 20 days later.
Her mom is slowly recovering, needing less oxygen. The turn of events? Too good not to share.
But she came in on 90 liters and she's down on 3.
Missy and her sister Kim credit their mom's plasma transfusion for the improvement. The plasma was from someone who recovered from COVID-19.
It worked wonders. We are so grateful. We're
appreciative because they were able to do this.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday to you.
And Mom was able to see.
She's wiping the tears from her eyes.
Because no matter how far away,
that's happy tears.
When you do it big, someone can't help but feel the love.
We love you, Mom.
In Murfreesboro, I'm CB Cotton, News 2.
What a sight to see. I'm sure that meant the world to Carolyn. What a great story there. All right, before we go, mac and cheese still a talker. Yesterday they said, oh, you can eat it for breakfast. Well, today they're saying you can eat it with Cheetos. Yes, now PepsiCo is trying to get in on the mac and cheese game, saying it's going to release 3 flavors. You see it right here on your screen. Bold and cheesy, flamin' hot and cheesy, and cheesy jalapeno. How does that sound? You'll be able to buy it in boxes or single-serve cups, and it will only be sold at Walmart. I'd totally try that. That sounds pretty good. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Newsfeed Now. Glad to have you. Remember to connect with us online. Use the hashtag Newsfeed Now. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, 10:30 Central. Enjoy the rest of your day.